Welcome back to Retroactive, everybody. It's been a few weeks, but we're finally back. We're going to be talking just a little bit of movie news today and doing some different stuff on the channel for once. But first, let me go around introduce my other panelists. Joining me, as always, we got Josh McCoy. What's up, bud?
What's up, man? Happy to be here as always. It's been a minute. Ready to talk about some Venom.
Yeah, I realized it's been like 6 weeks
It
since we
has. I've
talked
been
Deadpool,
slacking.
and I was
I've
like,
been
ooh,
slacking.
this time of year, this stuff can get away from you. But anyway, and my other panelists, of course, my wife, Ashlyn. Hi, babe.
Hey guys.
So now Josh has not seen Beetlejuice, but we are going to kick off with our review of the movie. So we're going to be talking, if you can really call it spoilers or something like that. I mean, the movie's already been out a couple weeks at this point. So if you were going to see it, you probably already have, or unless you're waiting for streaming or whatever. But fair warning, there might be some spoiler mentions and stuff like that in this discussion. So without further ado, I'm going to jump it over to Ashlyn, our resident spooky girl, and have her tell us her thoughts on the movie. Let's start with like some positives, and then we'll get into the negative stuff here in just a minute.
I really enjoyed Jenny Ortega as an addition to the story and the cast. I thought she did an excellent job, really blended a nice character blend between Delia and Lydia. And obviously, Andrew knows this. I feel like Delia stole the show this time in a
That's the mom,
positive
by the
way.
way.
Yes. She was fantastic. It was a perfect blend of like her playing Moira and all the things we loved about her character of Moira from Schitt's Creek without completely repeating that character. But I feel like she really has obviously grown as an actress and has just added a lot to her tool belt at this point. And she just did a phenomenal job, blew it out of the park. Everything she did was just so freaking funny. Everything really hit. So she was my favorite this time, whereas she was probably my least favorite in the original Beetlejuice. So that was super refreshing. They even do a little nod to her Moira character from Schitt's Creek with the crowing, if anyone remembers that like crazy like movie that she's working on. So that was really great to see that little bit of a plug, a little bit of a nod. Um, Other than that, as far as positives, I liked a lot of what they did um, as far as giving us a little bit of backstory on Beetlejuice, but at the same time, that one's kind of 50-50 for me as far as like I liked it, but at the same time, I kind of missed the mystery of Beetlejuice, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Um, all the new characters that they added, revisiting the land of the dead or however the afterlife, I guess, all of that was really good. Set pieces were really great again. So kudos for that. Andrew and I just learned actually from somebody else's video that Delia's character actually married the set designer from Beetlejuice in the
Catherine
original
O'Hara.
movie. Yeah, Catherine O'Hara married the set designer. So that was actually really cool information on how that all worked out. So that's really cute if you wanted to look up that story. So that's neat. I don't know if he worked on Beetlejuice or not. But if not, like some of the set, like going back to the house and everything was really cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Getting
even
to
if he
see the
wasn't
house.
like on set or didn't necessarily hands-on work on it, they're working from his reference point. So like it's kind of like how modern day, Star Wars or anything else is using references to the people that worked on it before.
Yeah.
My phone keeps wanting to fall out of this stupid tripod. Um, but yeah, so basically, like I said, even if he wasn't necessarily on set doing it himself, they're building off of what came before because there's a lot
Yeah.
of like influence from the original that they brought into the sequel.
And then, of course, they brought the house back. Although I feel like when we look at the house, like when it first does the pan on the house, I think it's like turned the wrong direction compared to
Mm.
what it was in the first one. But even still, like it looked amazing to go back to that house and everything like that. So, and to go back to the town and everything like that. So I was super excited that the set really felt, even from the intro of the movie, felt like you were going back to the original with that. So that was really neat. And
Josh, let me interrupt for a second. Josh, I know you haven't seen the sequel. Have you seen the original Beetlejuice movie?
Yeah.
Are you a fan at all, or
I mean, my fiance is a big fan. I appreciate it for what it is, but I'm not like a massive fan. But she's
yeah?
crazy
I
about
mean,
it.
that's kind of how I am too. That it was something I really didn't care for that much when I was young, and then as I've gotten older and like watched it, every season or whatever, like I have better appreciation for it now than I did back then. And if nothing else, from like a movie like storytelling, like world building standpoint, like what they were able to do back then is pretty impressive. And just the creativity behind it with all the world building that they did for that, I think is really fun and interesting. The thing for me is like Tim Burton has never been my favorite director or writer or whatever. Like,
don't stab Andrew, everybody. I know it's
yeah,
blasphemy.
There's some
Like,
diehard like Tim Burton people. Like there's diehard like George Lucas fans out there, but I'd say he's real hit or miss for me. But to be honest, he's more times missed than hit, in my opinion. Like especially in more like recent years, I appreciate more like his classic work, like Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, things of that nature.
Nightmare.
Like, yeah, well, you know what? I that's another one. It's like I always feel like I think it's more I appreciate what he did with something or what he might have done for a genre of film rather than necessarily what it is. Because Batman '89 is not like a favorite for me at all. But if it wasn't for Batman '89, we wouldn't have the modern era of superhero film, because literally it was from that point on that it was taken even remotely seriously. Like you might go back and watch it now and think that there's certain things that are really corny or like funny or whatever, but up until that point, all we had was the kapow and Zam, like type of like Adam West era Batman type of thing. And not just for Batman, for anything superhero was pretty much always like that. So and Michael Keaton pretty much said the same thing in a recent interview. He's like, you have to give credit where credit is due. If it wasn't for Tim Burton, we probably wouldn't have the modern age of superhero film and stuff like that. So
do you see he's trying to, but I don't know if he's joking, but in the recent interview, he's trying to do like another Batman movie. He's trying to get it like in the Warner Brothers head.
I could tell you
Keaton
that's probably
Keaton.
Here's what I want to happen. I unfortunately, after everything that's been canned and lost and just destroyed by the whole DC camp, I don't see it happening. I would be shocked that Michael Keaton would push for something like that after Warner Brothers has, well, for lack of a better word, fucked him over so many times at this point. But if they were going to do it, what I want them to do is Batman Beyond. 100%. Like I've been saying that since day one. Like we were really close with that Batgirl thing, because it was kind of that, like he was going to be mentoring her like as the original Batman type of thing. So it was kind of like a mixture of a Batgirl origin story with a little bit of that like Batman Beyond, mentor mentee type of thing, as opposed to like Batgirl just being an extension of the team type of thing. So I was excited for it in that regard, and obviously we'll never see it because Warner Brothers in that regard is terrible.
One day there'll be a hashtag for it, like the Snyder Cut, and we'll see it.
Yeah, I just want it to be released on streaming or something, like just something. I just want to see it because I want to see Michael Keaton in that light, because I did not like what happened with the Flash. Nothing to do with him, just the movie in general, and what they did with his character was an absolute waste. But I want to see that movie also
Brendan
because
Fraser.
Brendan Fraser playing a villain sounded really interesting. I'm still very much of the camp that I want him to come back and play like Clayface or something like that. I think would be incredible.
Somebody make it happen.
Yeah, but but back to the the
Beetlejuice
point here, the Beetlejuice thing. So Beetlejuice is one of those things. Is like the sequel here. I feel like the longer I think about it, I need to go back and watch this movie a second time. I do, because like right off the bat, I'll tell you, I'm probably at like a 6 with this movie. I did not love it. I I'm not sure I even really liked it that much. I didn't hate it. There was definitely some fun parts to it. But the biggest gripe that I have, and for what I've heard from a lot of different people, is there's like 3 different storylines or subplot lines that are playing out, and
It's clashing. I heard that a
none
lot.
of them really
Well, they
feel
don't
like,
get flushed out is the problem.
yeah, they don't have time for each one. Like the one I think that gets the most attention and technically gets cut off really quickly for its ending is I'm just going to say spoiler here. So is the Ghost Boy line or storyline with the daughter and everything like that. That had, in my opinion, probably like the closest thing to a through of like a beginning, middle, and sort of ending versus everything
But
else.
it just
Everything
gets
else,
rushed.
yeah,
Like,
it gets rushed at the end, but everything else had basically no middle. It all was like at the very beginning of the movie and then the very end of the movie, and everything in the middle was just kind of a hodgepodge.
and honestly, you could say there were 4 plot lines because then you've got the dad's plot line kind of mixed in there with the missing father. So it's like that's like a sub plot line built off of Lydia's plot line. But
well, that one's like a little that's more of a subplot as opposed to like 3 solid storylines that are being told, because we have like 3 groups of main characters playing
all
out
going
different
on
roles.
their journeys.
Exactly. And so I'm fine with the subplot, although like I've talked about with other people that I had the gripes that like there's certain things that they brought up that they never really, landed on or like addressed, and it's fine. Not everything has to have an answer to it, but there's something to be said of like we can have a little bit of closure of something. But I'd say my biggest, I have 2 big gripes. Big gripe number 1, the female bad guy, complete waste of time. She has a cool look. She's like this, Bride of Frankenstein looking thing. She's Beetlejuice's ex-wife, from what we find out. You find out like an origin story for him, which I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like, I get that they wanted to maybe do that, but I also kind of liked, if you go back like 15 plus years ago, I'm pretty sure Tim Burton was saying like he didn't necessarily want to give him an origin because he's supposed to just be this like, kind of an all-powerful like entity, demon type of thing that's just like a force of nature. Like it just happened. Like, and now we get this explanation of his origin, and it kind of fell flat for me in that regard. But moving past just that initial thing, just her specifically, it had nothing to do with her as an actor, because to be quite honest, she had very little screen time and very little, like almost no dialogue, really. Like you could probably count on 2 hands how many lines of dialogue she has in the whole film. And most of it is basically just like her sucking the life out of somebody, if you can call that dialogue. But again, I don't know that she's a bad actress because I haven't seen, I don't know her from anything else. This is basically the role that would have been played by
Helen Bonham Carter.
Right. That would have been her role had she still been with Tim Burton, because this is his new squeeze. So she's in this role. And that's fine. Like he used to do that with, his ex all the time, and it was fine. But I feel like usually he gave her more to do. So that one, and then this is more just like out of an annoyance. The boyfriend of Lydia's character, just the worst. And he's supposed to be, but like to an extent that like at first it was kind of funny because you could just tell he just kind of stood out like a sore thumb.
Well, he was playing like the kind of like the heel of sorts when it comes to like he's playing the stepdad that doesn't know where he fits in, and he's trying to be cool. So
and
like
overly emotional and all this kind of stuff.
So
like
you
super
could
touchy-feely.
relate to him at that point of like, okay, yeah, like anyone that's ever had a step parent, the brutal cringe of them trying to relate to you.
The secondhand embarrassment off that man was hurting me in the theater. I was literally 100%. Cringing at certain moments. One of the best exchanges was him with
Delia.
Well, that one and the daughter. The exchange between him and the daughter. Those are like the 2 best moments he has, because they're like, they know he's just full of shit, and they're just giving it right back to him because he's just a complete piece of shit, and just faking it the entire time.
His
But
character, like with the faking it, kind of reminded me of, and this is so funny, of Cat in the Hat with Alec Baldwin's character. Like when they can see through all the bullshit and then he takes off like the man girdle and everything.
That, I remember watching that as a kid. That is a messed up film. Okay, like Cat in the Hat is a seriously messed up kids movie.
Terrifying.
It is. Like not just for the fact that you have this life-size humanoid cat, but just the entire movie. There's so much going on in that movie that makes no sense how it ever got made the way it did. But yeah, that I remember watching that as a kid, and he just rips the thing off his midsection. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, that was something. And he's like wearing a wig too.
Yeah,
just
like a toupee or something. But that's kind of like what it. That is
more or less
parallels of like they can see through his bullshit, even though he's obviously not physically hiding anything of his appearance.
I feel like he could have probably not been an actual like gothic type of person though. Like I feel like
that was like, oh God, I can't even.
I feel like it should have shown a picture of him of his real self, and he's just like this, like normal looking Chad guy type of look. Like he's in board shorts and like Sperry's or something like that in a photo. Like he just put this whole facade on to
it comes
entrap
off
her.
Like so like very like Chris Angel, like his look of like what they tried to do with him with the eyeliner and like the weird man bun ponytail thing he's got going on. Like, oh, just everything about that character was so cringe in the worst way.
But I want to real quick, like we're gonna wrap this up here shortly. I want to get back to a positive, which is Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton returning as Beetlejuice. I think he did a fantastic job. Like he, as he should be, is a shining part of this whole thing. It's just I feel like that this is one of those. I know not Michael Keaton, but Tim Burton. For the most part, unless he's working with companies like Disney, is kind of just let loose when he gets to do a project. And then you can tell they were just like, just go for it. Do whatever you want. Because this is like, type of 80s, like crazy, off the wall, like bizarro type of stuff going on in this movie, and not just because of the whole like dead people thing, just in general it goes off the rails. To give you a point of reference, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Were you gonna say like for an example of off the rails, like how they handled the dad's character from the first movie with being bit in half by a shark and just walking around with like
that was funny to me
body.
because they couldn't use the same actor, so it's like let's have him still be in the movie sort of, but we won't show his face. And so that was like kind of the way they did it with the claymation thing was a little weird, but
that kind of took me out for a minute. But then just like him walking around with like the midsection gone and just like the blood squirting out and everything, I was just like, at some points, like it was really funny. But then at some points it was just kind of distracting. Like, I feel like this is going to seem stupid and nitpicky, but too much. I feel like it could have just been his head missing, not from the torso all the way down.
They really went for it with that one. But no, I was going to say Josh, to give you a point of reference, like in the original movie, they have that scene where with the whole Deo thing and they all start singing at the table. So they have like their version of that in this movie at the end. But it is, instead of like a 1 minute segment, it's the entire song. It's like a 4 minute song version of this. And it just, for me, did not work. And the whole time I'm like, when is this going to be over? Like this bit did not land for me. I'm ready for us to move on. It's just, and it's at the climax of the movie, and the climax of the movie, just, there's not a lot of payoff from that. So, like I said, I do feel like I need to see it again. Maybe.
Will you go see it again though?
Maybe. Like it's going to be in theaters for, I'm sure through October. So like maybe if I'm feeling like watching something like, spooky-esque type of thing. I always joke like we have the AMC A-list thing, so it doesn't cost me anything extra to go see it again.
What a flex.
Yes, what a flex. A thing that
For
anybody
my
can buy.
$25 a month subscription. Yeah.
More like a plug. I am not. I did not getting paid by AMC, although I'd love to be. We'll probably go check it out again before it leaves theaters, because now that I know what I'm getting into, maybe I'd like enjoy it more the second time around. I just don't know. But
I feel
like I
like
said,
I'm gonna be, if when we go see it again, I'm just gonna get more frustrated about things not being fully flushed out, because that is my all-time nitpick with movies, is when things aren't fully explained, as Andrew knows. And like, it's not like everything, like I don't need to be like talked to like a child. It's just with
are
this,
you sure? Are you sure? I'm sorry.
with this, there's just so much that is left, just like no payoff, because Jenny Ortega's character, Astrid, the daughter, her whole storyline with this ghost boy that she meets, you get all this backstory, and then all of a sudden his thing just ends super quick and you don't really get the payoff. But like Andrew said, that's probably the most flushed out. And then the other one is with Lydia and her character and everything, with the 4-minute segment that Andrew's talking about with the song and everything. You know, it's, the set design is gorgeous, and I think that's what they got caught up in, is doing this set and this bit and having the whole fantasticalness of it. But then there's no payoff. But I was going to say, even above Lydia's character, I would say is the main villainess of the movie. In, you know, she is a succubus, and you get like a little bit of, you know, detail on her, but then the whole time it's there, she's coming, and then she shows up, and in like 2 seconds she's gone. Like, you barely have any time with her. And so I think those two things are still going to bother me a lot.
Do you think they're going to do a third movie? Finish it off with the whole Beetlejuice? Oh, sorry. I had to make sure he wasn't here.
I was like, what is happening? I think it depends on numbers. I mean, that's what it comes down to nowadays, is, you know, studios, are they making their money back? And
I'll tell you, in that regard, his opening weekend was the highest he's had since, the highest opening weekend he's ever had, other than Dumbo. Dumbo is his number one because it's a Disney movie.
Yeah.
But this is the highest opening weekend he's had. Now, as far as overall numbers, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
I think if they do any more, they might be milking it.
Yeah. I think they actually did focus way more on Lydia than I thought they were going to, because I thought it was really just going to be about Jenny Ortega's character.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that it wasn't, that it was a nice mix of the two. I do think if they go to the third one, it will pretty much predominantly be Jenny Ortega.
Yeah.
It'll be like 75% her and like 25% Lydia being there, as opposed to like a solid 50-50 with this one.
I think
that's a smart move if they do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be the logical way to do it. I think if they do that, they're definitely going to have, you know, Catherine O'Hara's character come back as a poltergeist and like be there and visiting her. Like, I don't feel like you can do this movie without the weight of Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, but not to get into spoilers, but there's a reason why she might not come back. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But as far as a rating goes, what would you give it? Because like I said, I'm at a pretty solid 6.
I'm about with you there. Like, I had really high hopes for this, and it just didn't hit for me. Like, it's a cute movie. It's just, there's a lot of flaws and not a lot of payoff for the buildup of the first half of the movie. So I'm like at a 6 as well. Josh, what's your rating on this movie? You haven't seen?
Yeah, I'm sure he's very excited to see it now.
I'm gonna go based off my lady's rating. I think she said it was a 7.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad to hear that if she's a big fan of it, that if she enjoyed it.
She said the same stuff y'all are saying though. Like, she liked it. She couldn't tell she liked it while she was watching it, and it got very chaotic towards the end.
That's how I felt the whole movie. And I walked out of the movie, and it's one of those, I was like, I really don't know how to feel right now.
Yeah.
And we literally looked at each other. We're like, did you like it? I don't know. Did you like it?
There's no Deadpool and Wolverine, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Definitely not like that.
Which apparently
level.
finally hits Disney Plus on October 1st.
I know. I'm surprised it's going to hit that quick, to be quite honest. I thought it'd be maybe December.
Any like physical media release. I know they're getting away from it, but like no steelbooks or anything. It makes
it'll happen, but I guarantee that they're going to probably wait for that until closer to Black Friday. I almost guarantee they'll wait for like closer to the holidays, and then release like a steelbook and physical media type of stuff.
I'm that guy. I want it.
I don't blame you. That
would be a cool one that we might actually pick up, because we like the steelbooks for our physical media as well. So
speaking of Marvel, let's jump into a Marvel-ish movie to talk about here. So the second trailer for Venom: The Last Dance, ridiculous title, was dropped last week, and we got some interesting glimpses. We got a look at what has to be Null. I mean, they say it in the trailer. It's Null, which from the comics, if you don't know, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But as far as the overall trailer for the second one around, let's jump over to Josh, since he has barely talked so far, and hear what he has to say.
Venom's one of those franchises where I think we can all agree they're not really good movies, but we all still love them.
It's like fun popcorn flick.
Yeah. Like I don't go in there expecting any like crazy, just Tom Hardy and Venom.
Shakespeare,
just their whole dynamic is hilarious. And all I can say is Sony's gonna Sony. I have no high hopes for this movie. It sounds really cool on paper.
Sony's gonna. I want to get that on a T-shirt.
Noel's up there with Thanos and Doctor Doom. Like he's like he's a newer character. I think he's maybe 10 years old at that. Like within the last 10 years, he's been made. So like he's a newer Marvel character, and everybody loves him, and he's super badass. I don't know how they're gonna do it, and they're also saying that he's probably not going to be in the movie too much. It's going to be a setup for something bigger, that he might actually be the villain for Spider-Man 4. Which
heard that too.
It's also like, so the whole thing's confusing. The movie kind of seems like it's all over the place, but I am excited. I'll be there day one. I'll tell you that much.
I've seen a few videos talking about it. Screen Crush did a really good video talking about this with the whole Null thing and how it could tie into the whole Secret Wars drink situation and Spider-Man 4 and all this kind of stuff, and the whole multiversal thing, because they even reference in the post-credit scene for for the second Venom, when he's talking about like that the symbiotes have like the hive mind, and he says multiversal hive mind. And so Null in the comics is also like a multiversal character. I did some like research before the show, and so like you said, he's a newer character. He is like, he predates like the universe essentially. He's like one of those,
he fights the Celestials. Like he
goes to war with the Celestials,
and he uses the symbiotes to create darkness around the universe, and then the Celestials want to add light, and so he goes to war, and that's why he has a Necro sword. Which is the sword that Gore the God Butcher had in Thor: Love and Thunder, which you don't talk about that movie.
Well, but they did say, they were saying that would be an interesting way for them to kind of like retroactively, bring that into. I'm sorry, I hate myself today. To kind of maybe tie it, because in the comics that sword does have like a symbiote attached, which kind of like would explain the whole shadow aspect from the sword, if they wanted to maybe tie that back in and have that be the sword. But as far as for him, one of the interesting things, this is more like a fun fact, is that in the comics, the whole the head of the Celestial, the Nowhere from Guardians, he actually killed that Celestial with the sword and like cut his head off. So that's where that comes from as far as comics wise. Now, obviously, like you said, he's a newer character. That's something that's kind of been like more recently done with his character.
He's like the coolest character that they've made in years, in my opinion.
He does look
like
pretty
when he
awesome.
Comes, he literally covers the Earth in symbiote, and like the Avengers are getting their ass kicked, everybody's getting their ass kicked. Like he's literally like, that's where the whole, how in Spider-Man 2, the video game, all the Venom symbiotes with like the swirl on their forehead, like it's all Null. And so like, but you know what's gonna be really messed up? If Null is really the villain for Spider-Man 4, they're gonna make this man go fight Null, and then immediately go fight Doctor Doom. Like that's a lot for Spider-Man. That's too much for him.
I mean, he's already done quite a bit. He's fought with Thanos. Like
I know, but like Noel can't be a one and done, so he's got to be lingering for a little bit. So what?
Yeah.
He's gonna go fight Noel, take a break, go fight Doom, go back to fight Noel a little bit, and then
I don't
Doom will,
know.
like
I just kind of like we talked about this. You know, we have a group chat that so we talk about this stuff throughout the week whenever these things come up. That we're pretty sure that he's going to barely be in this movie, and
oh yeah, he's set up for something bigger.
so, but I need it to be to the MCU because clearly the Sonyverse is dying. Like I know that they still have Kraven the Hunter coming out after this movie, I believe.
Yeah, it's in December.
Which I kind of wish it was the other way around, so that maybe if this was the end cap type of thing, but still leave the door open as far as a connection to the MCU.
Well, I think they're going to keep the multiverse stuff going because that's what everybody's. As far even when the Disney's done with it, Sony still wants to keep doing the multiverse stuff. From what I'm
Okay. Well, I just mean I want them to bring Null into something with like whether it be the Tom Holland Spider-Man or like something connected to Secret Wars or something like that. Like I'd like for a character that interesting and that cool to be able to live on past, you know, a couple of scenes and a post-credit shot, you know, in a Venom movie that is like almost the end cap to a universe that really never got started because Sony shit the bed from the get. And like yes, the Venom movies are what they are. The first Venom movie is probably the best of the Sony movies overall. That's still not saying a lot. It's still not a perfect movie or anywhere near close.
You can tell they put more like love in this one. It looks overall better. Like the CGI,
quality-wise,
it
yeah.
looks more like grand and like there's more scope to it.
Although Carnage did look good. I know that the people don't like talking about that movie and everything they did to Carnage, but as far as what he looked like,
oh no, he looked great.
The CGI for it looked pretty.
I just hope that they don't.
Yeah.
They can't treat Noel like that. Like the fact that they killed Carnage in one movie blows my mind. Like he's not a one and done villain. So I just hope they don't do that. Give Noel that treatment. Like he's not,
especially if he's in the background of everything and it just shows up at the very end and just gone. No, we don't want that.
How do you feel about people saying it's Norman Reedus?
That
hasn't been confirmed.
Oh, I did see that. Okay, yeah.
Keep saying that they think Norman Reedus is playing Noel.
I mean, I don't hate it.
I just gotta see it.
It's an interesting pick. One that I heard today, and this is kind of like a fringe plot device type of thing. You know how in the trailer they keep showing like the shot of the same actor that played
the lizard
in there. They're saying that he might actually be this one. Like instead of him being, this was just a couple people's like theory that like instead of, because you know Sony likes to, and a couple different companies like to reuse people but not necessarily for the same character, for this universe that he might be like one of Noel's like extensions or something like that, because
that little boy might be a young Peter Parker too from everything.
So there's some interesting, you know, theories, and the Norman Reedus is an interesting choice. I know a lot of people wanted him for Ghost Rider for the MCU and stuff like that. I'm like,
Reedus is the guy from Walking Dead. Daryl's character. Okay.
Yeah. I was like the Ghost Rider thing is
sure, but
I was like the Ghost Rider thing is a little too on the nose, I feel like.
I think that's what he wanted.
No, I know. I'm sure he does.
I feel like he would do a really good job with that character.
It's not that I don't think
seeing Ryan Gosling's name tied to that though. I don't know if it's true. But...
Ryan Gosling's too damn pretty. Like no.
But Johnny Blaze, isn't he a pretty boy? I mean, Nicolas Cage isn't a pretty boy, but like the actual Johnny Blaze, isn't he a pretty boy?
I don't remember. I don't really know as far as the comics aspect of it, or like, you know, how he's supposed to look.
I mean, with the movie, they had that kid in the beginning is more of a pretty boy than.
And then the one from
the time jump, and it's Nicolas Cage from that kid. Like, no, that's not enough years.
So terrible.
I don't know. It's more like because it's supposed to be like 10 years later, and it's like no, we're like 25. Sure,
yeah.
You know,
they had that young guy for Agents of Shield who did a good.
Yeah, because they did a different version. That was the Robbie Reyes or something like that. That one with the car versus the motorcycle. But I think if they bring Ghost Rider into the MCU, they're going to do the traditional one with the motorcycle and that kind of stuff, because then it leaves the door open for them to do other iterations down the line if they want to, because
if
that's
they
one
do
of the
that
things.
down the line, I need them to do what they did with the first film and get the original Ghost Rider on the horse.
With the horse, yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was gonna say. I'm actually all for the. That was one of the things that I actually really liked about the original one was them like incorporating like the old Ghost Rider and just kind of like the mythos of the Ghost Rider being more than one person type of thing. I thought was really
Yeah.
cool. So seeing that in like a modern take with that with the MCU specifically, I think could be really fun, and especially with the whole multiversal thing, anything's possible.
Yeah.
Even if they just show up kind of like a Spider-Verse thing, or it's like there's Spider Horse, like it's.
Yeah. Spider Pig was bad. Spider Ham was already one thing.
No, Spider Ham was amazing. First of all,
Oh, I know.
Ashlyn, do you have any thoughts about the second trailer,
Other
or
than
just
Sony's gonna Sony?
Right, Sony's gonna Sony, or just the whole
Yeah.
the Last Dance thing in general?
Yeah, the Last Dance thing is the title is just hilarious to me. No, I mean, it's going to be a great popcorn flick. I think this is
Be a great
another one
popcorn
of.
bucket.
I think this is another one of where we're going to have to do a retroactive outing and get the whole crew together to go see this, just so we can all enjoy the madness of this movie. So I'm excited for that.
The freaking Venom horse thing, like
There's a fish too.
and a frog. I saw there's
Lord.
a Venom frog or something like that.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm just going to enjoy the ride, enjoy it for what it is. I really, as far as if we take everything out of these films, the dynamic of Venom and Tom Hardy's character is the best thing about these films. It's
Absolutely
fantastic. It's that buddy cop movie with it being like having a catalyst to it, and it's fantastic. It honestly is super enjoyable because I know we all like to forget the symbiote Venom of Topher Grace. So totally love.
The funny thing is that version, as far as like when he gets taken over, that version of Venom is a lot of people would say is arguably closer to the comic one than what we have here, because this is like an anti-hero, like the later iteration of Venom, where the anti-hero and more lighthearted type of thing, because like especially in the second one, he's like making him breakfast, he's like ta-da, like with like
they get in a fight, he like runs off,
and
he starts hopping through other people's bodies, and he gets like sat at a part at like a rave missing Eddie.
Exactly.
Oh my god, that whole scene was so funny. But yeah, I'm with you though. The dynamic between them, if it wasn't for that, these movies would just absolutely they'd be like the rest of the Sonyverse. Maybe not as bad as Madam Web, but like definitely they'd be like basically, Morbius and stuff like that. So
hey, Madam Web is God tire.
God tire?
Or God, however you say. I'm not feeling well, guys.
I'm not feeling God tired today, guys. I'm feeling tired, but not God tired. So I think that's it for Venom. Let's move on. So last week, all of us, including Brandon and Kat, all got to go to Halloween Horror Nights here in Orlando, experience that together. So Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights, it was a lot of fun. It was very wet because, Florida just rains every day. But other than that, I think we had a pretty good time. This was, Josh, was this your first time going to HHN?
Yep.
So it was Josh's first time, Brandon and Kat's first time ever going. Of course, Sasha and I have worked for Universal for several years, so we've been going for a little bit now. I didn't even go until, I think, 2019.
Yeah.
Was the first year we went, because I did not like doing this kind of thing. I am not a horror fan, as I've mentioned before. I do not like scary movies, do not like scary things. And I'm like, no, I'm sure as hell not going to pay to go somewhere for someone to scare me. And she's like, I'll get you in for free. And I was like, we're closer, but still. So 2019, but I got lucky. That year they had the first Ghostbusters house. They had like Stranger Things and like some more fun related type stuff. This year they have the only IPs they have that showed in the first picture. We got Quiet Place, we got Insidious, and we've got Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I want to just talk a little bit about it because it's been, kind of a slow movie news week. So I thought we'd do something a little bit different. talk about our experience with Halloween Horror Nights. I know there's a lot of HHN fans out there, like big time. We see them every day at work. So I'm going to start it off with Josh, since this was his first time. Josh, out of all the houses, which one was your favorite?
That's a tough one. It's got to go back and forth between Insidious and A Quiet Place.
Mhm.
Insidious was more freakier, but I think A Quiet Place is more fun.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, but like, you go there to be scared. We also go there to have fun. So I don't know which one. So they're the two headliners aside from Ghostbusters. Although in Ghostbusters, the ice demon thing,
Mm-hmm.
that thing was freaky. Watching
Yeah,
that
it
thing
was.
creepy. And
Yeah,
then, I forget
Mhm.
which. Because they finally got me when we were coming out of the one house. The guy in the corner that was super tall and stilts that got in my face and it made me jump.
Oh, I remember it, but I don't.
That was right by the Ghostbusters one.
I think it was the triplet. Was that the Triplets of Terror one, or
No.
I don't
Kind of
remember.
hard. Right now, they're all kind of like, I know
Blurring
we
together.
to do all 10 despite all
Yeah.
the weather issues we had, but they're all kind of like blending together. Like I
Yeah,
remember
we managed to do all 10 houses and see the Nightmare Fuel show.
the mummy strippers was fun.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's see as best we can. Let's see if we can kind of break them down a little bit. Let's start with A Quiet Place. This one was really well done in my opinion. There's been some people that, like, I've talked to, guests or otherwise, that complain, oh, there's too many animatronics, and it's like, well, first of all, how you do these creatures with non-animatronic, like if you have somebody in a suit, you're not going to get the same effect. Like, you're definitely not going to get the mouth opening effects and stuff like that. And even with the animatronics, they were still able to do some jump scare moments with
like when you first walk in the house,
tunnel.
It's like a black tunnel, and then there's like very split second flashlights, and they like come out of the walls, but like and it's very narrow black tunnel too.
Like real bad. I was like in the back, and I saw it like come at you. You're like, wow,
80% of the haunted houses, you had your head down.
That, first of all, that is not true. That was one house, and yeah, that was Insidious. But we'll get to that. But no, I think A Quiet Place was really well done. A lot of people were like, "Oh, it was too noisy for A Quiet Place," and it's like, okay, that's fair, but there's not an actual.
It's
way
not people talking.
No, it wasn't too noisy,
like...
because if you pay like A Quiet Place, it makes you realize how, even when we think we're silent, how loud we actually are.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So it's like they live in a world where they have to be silent, but like we're naturally loud. Like,
right,
we kick stuff and we don't realize it when we're walking. So like we're all like, I don't know. I feel like it was very realistic.
I thought they knocked it out of the park. The most impressive thing in that house that I was so impressed with that they were able to do was the flooded basement scene with the baby in the box in the water. Yeah. I was like, how the hell did they do this scene? And it was so realistic and so well done. And the fact that they were doing a water-based scene like that, I was like, hats off. That is my favorite part of HHN, is the production level and design. And I think this house was the perfect blend of getting the scares and getting the production design, like, knocked it out of the freaking park, where they were able to hit all the points perfect.
Yeah, for sure. The one of the things I was going to mention about the whole noise thing is, like, it actually kind of, even though this one was about the first two films, it kind of plays into what you see in more like Day One, where it's like,
I
when
knew you were going to talk about that.
Or they also address it, I think it was in the first one, with the whole waterfall scene, where it's like, if there's an abundance of noise, you can hide within the noise and stuff like that. So like, that's also something. So if you've seen these movies, you can understand what they're doing. But as I've said to several people, as far as if you really want to break it down to, like, just reality, it's impossible to do a quiet house when you're you're on a stage with other haunted houses, not to mention hundreds of people going through there at a time, type of thing. That it's not going to be quiet. It's not possible. So in turn, you have to kind of flip it on its head. And like Josh said, you're showing just how noisy of creatures we really are, and how noisy the world is, and everything. Even when you're trying to be quiet, like, they're going to hear you and stuff like that. So like, I think people just take things a little way too seriously with this kind of thing. There's some freaking diehard, like, Halloween Horror Nights people out there that, no offense, I take some things very seriously, you know, Star Wars or otherwise. Y'all take it too seriously sometimes. But let's do another one here. Now, Josh mentioned with Ghostbusters. This is the fun house. You know, like there's always at least one fun house per year. Last year, I believe, was Beetlejuice, and I can't remember the year before, but there's always at least one house that's really just more fun than scares, and this is that Frozen Empire. But it still has a couple of moments that could get you. Like Josh said, there's that giant.
Taraka.
Thank you. Can never think of the name.
Yeah, they
Giant
did a great
ice
job with
creature
the frozen
horns.
rooms too.
Yeah, that frozen room from the beginning of the movie, really well done.
That was my favorite.
only gripe is that it needed to have a lot more cold air. Like, and that, like I said, that's just a little bit of like a being picky. But if they had like really cold blowing air going through there, it would have just really set it
Been a
off that much
fully
more.
immersive.
That would have been great
Because,
for us considering we were soaking wet by that time.
we might have walked out as icicles at that point. But because they've done it in years past, like Ashlyn, you remember like Dead Man's Wharf was like on like a frozen lake type of thing, if I remember correctly, and
Correct.
and so it was very cold in there, and so I was surprised they didn't do that. But it is just really kind of for that scene and then like the very end. So I'll give them a break on that one. But yeah, really cool set designs. I know Ashlyn, you love the part where they show all the little marshmallow guys,
The mini puffs.
the mini puffs running around or just on random stuff. And what's your like one of your favorite things from that particular house?
From a set design, the frozen room from the beginning with the Adventures Club, like I didn't know we were going to go that hard. And when we walked in, I was just like, oh my God, like you are in that scene from the movie. Overall, as far
they even
as
had the record player with the broken hand.
Yes. So I mean, it's so hard to pick like a favorite house as far as for set design, but I would say as far as like living up to expectations for the IP houses, I feel like this was probably it as far as like every scene and set hitting as far as like meeting those expectations. You really felt like you were walking on the set of the movie. It was so good. Like these production designers deserve like all the credit in the world for these set designers, because what they make come to life every year just blows me away every year. And especially when you're having to live up to a pre-existing, you know, set from a film, and you know how people are going to be walking in and what they're going to be expecting, and they just knocked it out of the park with this one. So that was definitely like, I think the one that surprised me the most for the set, other than the Adventures Club Frozen scene, was the scene in where they had all the cells for the ghosts.
Oh yeah.
And then where you had oh my God, I forget her name, but the little girl's character doing like where she changes, and from the movie they actually have her materialize with the tube and then have her be the ghost. like I said, like for me, like this is a passion of mine with, you know, theme parks and things like that. So with the set designs and stuff. So for me, it knocked it out of the park with this
I really
one.
liked that they had the at the end the possessed car.
My God, that
so
was
fun.
great. Yes.
That was really fun. Yeah, Ghostbusters definitely like very, very fun house. Let's do Monstros. This was a very interesting house. This is at the very front. You might walk right past it without realizing it, but it's the first house when you walk in. Let me pull this back up. So it's the Monsters of Latin America. Honestly, can't tell you what the creatures are. I was expecting. I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but I was expecting like a chupacabra to pop out or something like that.
This was the first one we did.
This was the second to
last
last that we did. This is the one that had that like, I think it had the giant face come out of the wall, and had the Freddy Krueger looking guy running around. I don't know if you remember. This was like at the end of the night. This is, again, very cool, like set designs. It's not one that like super sticks with me or anything like that. There's nothing that really stood out other than the fact that I don't know what this character's name is, but he looks like, you know, like a Latin Freddy Krueger. It's the only thing I can remember. Ashley, you got anything to add with this one?
Yeah, no, I was just didn't really know other than every time, guys. I don't know how to fix it. It hates
I think
me.
your phone's broken personally.
You don't need that new iPhone 16.
Oh, jeez.
Jesus. Yeah. No.
We're a few behind to jump to 16. Let me tell you.
For this one, I thought it was really cool that we were doing monsters from a different culture. So doing Latin American. Only one I knew going in was La Llorona, so that was really cool. Getting to see La Llorona. Like you said, I don't know who the Freddy Krueger character was, but that was cool. And then there was another one that I can't think of right now. So really well done. I'm sure all of our Latin American and Hispanic guests know these are part of their culture, their stories growing up. So I'm sure it is one, super terrifying for them, and then like two, really cool to just see those characters brought to life if they are horror fans with this type of stuff. So it's kind of that double-edged sword for them.
You know what I would love to see personally is, you know how last year for the tribute store they did like the comic strip that told a story that went from beginning to end. I kind of want them to do that for every house. That'll tell me what the story is, because some of these I'm like, I'd really love to know what the narrative is, because sometimes it just doesn't hit me. Like I'm not picking up on certain things, or I missed something. Bless you.
Thank you.
But it would be cool if they did, like, if they ended up selling like a book that had like each one is like a comic strip or something like that, telling the narrative of each individual house. I think could be like a really fun thing, because I'd really love to, for that one, bloodlines, things like that.
And they sold a comic last year to go, which was really cool. So yeah, I think that would be for the tribute store. So I think that would be like a really cool memorabilia thing, especially for the diehard fans of HHN. It would be like
that thing would sell it like that.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, remember the comic, they had to release it twice because
I think it was 3 printings actually for that one. It was pretty crazy. We're kind of jumping around here. This is another one, the Museum Deadly Exhibits. This was the first one we hit of the night.
I don't remember. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't remember much about this one, other than we all said it was mid.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
there was
I'm
just we didn't know the story. Like, yeah,
this is
really
one of those perfect examples that I need a better understanding of the narrative. It's like they get this stone thing, and it's like
a mask or something. I don't
even. And it like a fungus takes over the exhibits or something like that, and they all start attacking you or something like that. Don't, again, like Josh said, don't remember a lot about it. Very meh type of thing. Another one that I didn't think it was as bad as some people have said, but a lot of people are saying this was mid. The whole Major Sweets Candy Factory. Some people were like, "Oh, it's not as scary as it should have been." It's like, yeah, but I think they're also playing into like some of the very like old school, like retro style thing, and the vibrant colors, but then they were also like kind of some gross out moments mixed in there with the whole candy factory type of thing. I thought it was fun.
Thought this one was fun and really good. Again,
the set design. Yeah. Remember the cans on the top, like in the factory. That was an interesting one. I hadn't seen that before.
Vents and stuff above your head. They did a really good job with this one. This one is inside Fast and the Furious. And it was really well done. I thought the story was there. You knew what was going on. Again, it's that old school Halloween story about like, overindulgence, and how with the kids overindulging in the candy, and then the candy turns the kids evil, and there's like a school part in it. Like, the whole thing had a very flushed out story. You knew what it was. The set design was there. So I thought this one is kind of underappreciated this year.
Yeah, for a lot those that don't know, this was from a Scare Zone, I think 2 years ago, that they did like just one of the walkthrough on the main areas, Scare Zone, I believe, right next to Finnegan's.
Yeah.
And they took this and were like, we're going to make a whole haunted house out of it. And I think they did a good job. Josh, you remember anything about this one?
The candy one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually liked that one. It wasn't like over the top, but like it was fun. Like that's one of the ones, like some of them I don't remember.
Yeah, it's a lot. We went through a lot in one night. So
that, like, we were also like I think it was the rain and being wet that made us more tired than we needed to be. But like some of them, like I remember like us doing all 10 of them, but there's only a few that stand out, and that's one of them. So man, I actually like that one.
Yeah, I did too. Like I said, some people, I don't know. It's like everything else. They're just looking for things to complain about. One that I didn't really care for was this one,
Me
Goblin's
either.
Feast. Was not a fan. It interest. I don't know. I don't even want to say interesting concept. Like the idea, okay, I guess could have been there, and the masks and costumes were well done in that regard for the
I
whole
just want to know if
goblin.
they ever found Aaron.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the goblins ate him. Uh, he's gone. But yeah, this was one that was just like, I did that, and I don't think I need to do it again. I think we're all pretty much in the same boat
Honestly,
on
if
that
we
one.
were to go back again, I would probably just do like the three main ones again, and maybe the one that made us crack up laughing with the which I forget which one that was in, but with the mummy stripper thing.
This one right here, Slaughter
Yeah.
Cinema 2.
That one was really cool because there was a
yeah.
bunch of random stuff going on, but
That's one of
So-
my favorite houses, actually, because that one there's so much going on. Like I didn't know how that was going to play out because each part is like only like a little space, and each one's a different fake film that they made, and you feel like at first you're like, oh, maybe this is too much. Maybe they're doing too much. They're not giving us enough time. No, I mean there were certain ones that I would have liked to see more, but at the same time, for a whole like retro like film, especially kind of like a drive-in, B
they reused
movie
the Jaws
type of thing.
animatronic. That was cool.
They reused the Jaws animatronic and a few other things. I really liked well, you mentioned the mummy thing. That was hilarious. Mummy strippers. We walk in and there's a dude dressed as a mummy with glitter all over his face, just using stripper
he was going probably a little too hard. They're like,
he
you
was
didn't have to
going
go that hard.
he was going hard. I was like, damn. I was like, bro, I don't even have some ones, but I feel like you deserve them because you putting in work right now. Like, I was like, hopefully there's no children behind us. It was quite funny. But another part that sticks out for me for that one is the metal one where it's like it starts in the like kid's bedroom and he's like split in half, and then you walk through and it's all neon with the mohawks with skeletons, kind of like the theme they used for this year with a lot of the merchandise, that like punk skeleton type thing. It was cool seeing that incorporated even just a little bit into the house, because when they did that I was like, why was this the choice for the merchandise? I still don't really understand it. So I was like, at least it's in there somewhere with the houses and things like that. Unfortunately, because it was raining nonstop, we really didn't get to experience the scare zones that as you walk through the park, because it was raining, so none of the actors could be out, so we really couldn't experience them. Like when we first walked in, we got to see a little bit of it, but we were just kind of beelining it to the first house. So we don't really have much to talk about with that, but we only got a couple left here. One of the ones I always enjoy, the Universal Monsters houses. They always have really good set designs, normally pretty good story. This is one of the first times where I felt like I need a better explanation of the story, other than the fact that I understand that it's Van Helsing's daughter going after like the spawns of the monsters or something like that. So I get that, but there's times when I'm walking through the house, because I've done it twice now, that I'm like, I wish I understood what's happening here. There's just a few times where I felt a little bit lost in that, but at the end of the day, great set designs, great costumes. I always love the Universal Monsters houses. They're always like a hit. Ashlyn, how about you?
Well, this is like always my favorite thing. I look forward to the Universal Monsters houses every year. I thought this was another one that, for the most part, I agree with you. Like, I get most of the story. There's a few times where it loses me, but the set designs are just always so gorgeous. They do such a good job. I love that this is an all-female cast house. I've been hearing from almost everyone that's done it. They love the all-female cast for this house. It's so cool. Van Helsing is an all-time favorite character in cinema and literature for me. So I am super stoked that it is his daughter doing this. There's also a comic company called Zenescope that does their own tale with Von Helsing's daughter. So I'm super excited. Love this house. It's going to be one of the favorites for me. Everything is just always so well done with these houses. maybe just a little bit more story explanation. This is where that comic would come into play and work really well. So maybe, I don't know, maybe we can keep with the comic trend and keep that going. I am surprised they didn't do one this year with how well it did last year. So I don't know, maybe we can plug it, get Skipper Hoss on it.
Josh, any thoughts on this one?
It was cool. This one I do remember because this one actually had like a theme that stood out.
Yeah.
No, this one was definitely fun. Sorry, my brain. I could feel like my body like shutting
I was
down.
like,
I'm
think
like
he's
cloudy
slowly
brain.
deteriorating in front of our eyes.
Sorry,
Poor Josh.
I definitely, that's one of the ones I remember having a fun time, and the actress that was pretty much following the group. She did a good. I couldn't tell if it was multiple people or if it was the same person, but they did a good job with the makeup. So, but that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's different people, but yes, they try and make it seem like the same person, so they do a good job
of makeup.
Don't worry, we're almost done.
You're good.
This one kind of surprised me of how freaky it was. Triplets of Terror.
I was not a fan of this one.
This one actually kind of scared me. And I kind of
refresh my memory on this one.
This is the one that was like if you took The Strangers meets Deliverance, like because there was a lot of like there was trailers that's like in a trailer park, and remember Fluffy dies. Remember that? Remember they killed like a dog or something, like, or I don't know if it was a dog or a giant cat. It was like on top of a counter. I called it
Fluffy, and I was mad. I was making jokes the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but there was actually some like decent scares in this one, because you come out, and I think it starts with, they're like killing like it was like college students or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Like you said, it kind of some of these things start to blur together, especially when you only do it like once. But this one had some pretty decent scares. There was some moments
definitely
I was
like, scary. I was not a fan of it. I don't. If Josh and Brandon force me to do this one again, if we get to go again in October when the weather's better, I will do it. I'll hate you guys, but I'll do it.
I'm shocked I got this man to go on in the city. He was fighting me all night about it, and then last minute he's like, "Fuck it, I'll do it."
Yeah, that's why I saved it for last. This fucking house, man. Let me tell you what, like, and I'll tell you right from the get.
Anything.
This was me. I'm like, she's right in front of me, head down. I'm like, my eyes mostly closed, but I need to kind of see where I'm going. I got my hands on her, but like, because I saw the first movie when it came out. We talked about this throughout the night. Saw the movie when it came out. It messed me up. Just the whole dream thing, like in your head thing. Not a fan of that.
I like it because the dad and the son have both my names.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. So all night, I'm like, nope, not going to do it. And then the last minute, fine, let's do it. And Josh really enjoyed about it. Right? Yeah, just all day. Josh, since you enjoyed this one so much, because you and Kat really like this house because y'all are weird. What about this house do you remember that you liked?
The whole thing. It was just like it was very creepy, and it really felt like you were in the movie. And they did a great job with like they had the creepy lady with the old lady that was haunting Josh, the dad. And then obviously the Darth Maul looking thing that haunts Josh, the son, and everything. The whole thing. And then the room, when you first walk in, the giant red door is intimidating. And then they had the two rooms with like the mannequin things covered up.
God,
like I didn't like
that.
That's
the only thing I saw was a tiny glimpse of all the mannequins, and I went right back to looking at my feet.
Yeah, but it was and then the old lady that haunts the dad when he was a boy. Like she's like just kind of like hovering through the mannequins, like kind of watching you, and it's just like it was very eerie. But that's what I'm saying. Like this one was a lot scarier, but A Quiet Place was more. It was just more entertaining. But this one, like, I don't know, they did a fantastic
Most people
job
have been saying this is one of the scariest houses in the last 20 years, like of this event. And
Brandon looked like he's about to have anxiety coming out of it.
he said he almost
I'm
did.
like choking Brandon, unintentionally holding on to his poncho. I was just like, I can't do this.
Yeah, and
I was just trying to make y'all. I was trying to be like the comedic relief because the entire time I was just doing the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hello there.
Hello there. And every demon he saw. Hello there. And I'm like all the way in the back, and there was also that part where like something above you like sprays you.
Oh yeah,
that was weird liquid.
Hated that. but like even though I had my eyes closed half the time, you could still like feel things coming at you or hear things coming at you. And a couple times I did open my eyes, it was like those mannequin rooms, and I'm like, really, two of these? And every time we turn the fucking corner, keep seeing an exit sign, but it's not the exit. It just keeps going, and it was like it felt like one of the longest houses
That
of the
house
entire
took
day.
forever
It
to
was
get
such
through.
I'm not. I really do believe it's probably the longest house because it just kept going.
Well, that
And
one was set up on a sound stage, so they have
yeah,
a lot more room to work with because those sound stages are
mhm.
freaking huge compared to the little huts that
Yeah,
they have out
the
back.
tents that
I
they
think
have.
for
Yeah.
me though, it was just hard to actually be like scared because like I am a fan of. Obviously, that franchise has gone downhill. Like I think after the third one, it's kind of just it's not the best. But for the most part, I love that whole Insidious Conjuring universe, and so I was just kind of like at awe and like enjoy the artistry of it and like how well detailed they put into it. Like it, as like a big film buff, like I just really appreciate it. So it's hard to get
Yeah.
scared because I was like, this is so cool. Like
Mhm.
They
playing over
did get you one time because I remember you're like, they got me. So,
I think it was when we were coming out of the one house and the guy came from the corner on the stilts and got me in the face.
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe that's what that one was. Maybe it was from the Insidious house. I don't remember. I just wanted out of that house so bad.
Oh my God, so bad.
Like, yeah.
And well, I think after that we went to that burger place and just sat there and everybody was just kind of quiet for a minute.
Yeah, because Brandon was like, I need a break. Like his anxiety was.
That's when
out of
he
his head.
That's when he was finally ready to go home.
Yeah. He's like, hey, are we done yet? He's like, real quick before we wrap this up, I just did want to mention that we also got to see the new Nightmare Fuel Nocturnal Circus show. For those that don't know, for the last 4 years now, they've been doing this Nightmare Fuel show, which is basically best way I can describe it's like a Las Vegas style dark cirque type of show. And the reason I say Las Vegas is because it is adult. Like, and I'll say that this year it's like slightly toned down from years past. Years past, there was like harness wear, leather, whips and
Chains.
leashes,
You
and
go try your best to get center though, because
yeah.
I feel like we missed a bunch on the side
go
there.
up. Even if you're out to the side, go up. But do your best to get at least closer to the center, because there's just a lot. That was one of the
pieces.
That's one of the issues this year is because of the set pieces with like the carriages. You're actually being blocked more than years past, because years past it was just like chain and
fence and
and
stuff like that,
and fence and stuff like that. So a lot more open in years past. But I get it. You're building a set piece based off the circus theme, and that also plays into the whole like costume design. It's going to be a little bit more toned down in the whole like sexiness thing because of the fact that it's a circus. So you're going to be basing those up. But don't get me wrong. There's still a lot there. There's still
for the girl that was being dangled by her hair.
Oh yeah, that thing. Yeah, I remember Brandon freaking. He's like, "How did they do that?" Like he was full on freaking out about.
Like he was concerned for her.
Yeah, but I knew like he'd appreciate that with like the whole like tech and sound design type of thing. Like and I know
music choice is great too.
Yeah, and the music it's always good.
They went from Nirvana to Drowning Pool. It was like very. Like they were all over the place.
And the last few years, in my opinion, this isn't my favorite year of the music. And I'll be honest, it's not my favorite of the 4 shows that have come before, but it's still a really good show. Like they upped the like trapeze stuff. They upped the pyro, although last year had a lot of pyro too. But they just keep trying to up it with that, and I very much appreciate it in that regard. Ashlyn, any of your favorite things from the show?
Let's see. I'm trying to think because we covered a lot of it. I do really enjoy the story. I always love a good story. The story is really well done. I am missing some of that more adult theming with some of the costumes and things like that, like you said, just because the story that we're in is very much early 1900s
time period-esque.
There's a lot of ruffles.
bloomers
Yes. So missing a little bit more of the leather and stuff like that we get in prior years. But yeah, no, the pyros, the aerials are a ton of aerialist
The
work
pyro
this year.
swords. That's
The
something.
pyro swords are really, really cool. Really like that. Yeah, no, I mean, really just overall, always will enjoy this show. I am missing a little bit. I think the music could have been a little bit better for some of the choices. It's not my favorite soundtrack this year. But
Like they always do alternative and like emo and hard rock and that sort of thing, and so it's still very much in line with that.
yeah,
It's just because we've been seeing this for the last 4 years. We've heard like a slew of different soundtracks, and
I
this
think
is not
it's just the
necessarily the best one.
flow. It's the
Yeah.
flow for me. It's very choppy compared to prior years. Has been very seamless. Start out soft, jump really quick into high energy, then slow back down a little, and
Well, and
then
the other
come
ones had
right
like
back up.
interludes too, like
Yes.
had more interludes and like musical interludes and things like
Yeah.
that.
This
Even
one is
those
like
little,
song, very
yeah.
few interlude. And I think that's what's missing for me is just it's the flow of the music this year. But other than that, very few complaints. Love seeing at least I can say at least 4 or 5 different performers and dancers that have been there continuously all 4 years. Super excited to see them back. They put on
Yeah.
an amazing show every year. These people are just incredibly freaking talented. It's 100% worth going to see this show. It's always fun watching the audience members.
Don't bring your kids to this show. Okay, I'm just gonna like in the
Bro,
mic
I've
in the
established
camera.
this year. I feel like we've seen so many like been the things where I feel like kids, people just bring their kids to everything. I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah,
And that's Josh speaking as someone who has a kid versus
Yeah.
Andrew and I who only have a fur baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, please don't bring your kids.
Oh yeah,
This
no,
is adult
my
entertainment.
son would
like,
not. Well, my son would have been terrified of Halloween Horror Nights anyway.
In
He asked
general.
if there was ever a Five Nights at Freddy house if we could go, but the second he'd seen the Chainsaw People, I don't think he'd be about it.
People
Yeah.
did think that was going to be one of the houses this year, maybe next year, because Bloomhouse normally has a house, and they just did the
They
Scare
did a
Zone.
scare zone.
Blumhouse is the main, so there is hope they could possibly.
Yeah,
do that.
it's very likely it'll happen in the next couple of years. I would be shocked if it's not next year or the year after. So,
Yeah.
fingers crossed on that one. But the just it's one thing. It's one thing for you to bring a kid to Halloween Horror Nights. It's fine. I'm not the parent. That's your business. But this show, it pretty much says on the outside, this is an adult show. So like, I'm just fair warning you in case you have no idea what this is, because the amount of people that I talk to about this show, like that are there when I'm working, talking about the event and stuff like that, they have no idea what I'm talking about because they've never seen it. I warn them, even when they're adults. I warn them. I'm like, just
especially if we have older
know?
tables, or you just read your guests and they're like giving you a vibe that this is not going to be their cup of tea.
Yeah.
Like,
and I've had some people that like are regulars that we've talked about the whole thing. We've kind of joked about the like, the sexiness factor and stuff like that. And some people were worried, oh, did they tone it down because of complaints? I know that's not what it is. They're just fitting the vibe of the story and the look and everything like that. If they were going to have to change it because of that, it would have happened after the first year or the second year. But we're in the 4th year of this show. They're not toning it down now because of complaints. I guarantee that's not what it is. So anyone that's like a hardcore like HHN person, I can tell you that's not what the issue is. And again, it's still very much like adult. It's just the outfits fit the look of the thing, and that's the biggest thing that changes. But yeah, so overall, it was a very rainy day. It was a very long night, but we accomplished a lot. We were only there for like 5 hours. We got through all 10 houses and we saw the show. So we definitely saw, accomplish what we sought out to do.
We conquered HHN.
That's right.
Through the rain and everything.
we survived. Never go alone, Just real quick, before we call it a day, I just want to do a quick show and tell, just since there wasn't a lot to talk about today. Ashlyn, you have something to show us?
Yeah, I just gotta grab it. Okay. I put it a little too far away.
It's fine. I'll start. So what I have here, so last week before we went to HHN, we stopped. We went to a convention called. Oh man, I just blanked. Fanboy Expo in Orlando. And I had previously got this pop signed by the voice actor that did Mewtwo for the Pokemon series, but they actually had the original voice for the movie, Pokemon the first movie, or Mewtwo Strikes Back, depending on who you ask. Was there. Really super nice guy. He even did a little cartoon of Mewtwo on the side of the pop box. We talked to him for a little bit. Just super, super sweet guy, super nice guy. Has like, as far as voice acting, I think that might be the only thing he's done. I'm not sure. I haven't really dived into it, but that was like his whole table.
It's all his advertising.
And so, I mean, if that's what it is, he is an artist. So his name is Jay Geode, I believe, on Instagram. He's like two names because it's Jay Geode and Philip Bartnett, I think. But he's on Instagram. Check him out. He's a really talented artist and everything like that. And you know, he's the original Mewtwo. That's fucking amazing. Josh, you got anything?
I don't know if you count my NYCC passes.
Hey, it's something.
Bring it a little bit closer where we can see. Did, but you already showed it, so I don't know if I bring it back up. But the same thing you got, and then my passes came in the mail. I'm going to New York for the first time for New York Comic Con.
I mean, that's pretty big. Yeah, Josh got a Funko signed for the first time.
Never thought I'd buy a Funko.
He was back and forth on it the whole time.
I'm not gonna make a habit of it, but if it's Pokemon, you know, I'm a sucker for Pokemon.
Yeah, I was like, bro, you might as well do it. He was so back and forth the whole time, and I'm just like, if you don't do it, you're gonna regret it. I just know it. I was like, worst case scenario, you can always sell it. You know, it's like, Ashlyn, what do you got for us?
So same con was a big heavy hitter. It was a big Buffy Vampire Slayer meetup, but those were like 6 individual pieces that I got signed by everybody. So that was a little bit much, but there was also a Mummy reunion for the original 1999 Mummy cast. So as you guys have seen before, we have our faux video pieces. So we got it signed by, right here is by the actress who played Anaxa Namun. She gave me a great quote there as well. Only you can resurrect me. She was so sweet, such a nice lady, gorgeous woman. And then we have down here is Oded Fair. He played the Magi. So that was really cool. Both of them were so neat. It was so amazing to meet them and get this piece signed. As you guys have known from our other collections, we are big faux video people. So this is our 4th one, I believe. I do want to make it a cast piece and get Evie, Rachel Wise. And then, of course, we've met Brendan before, but he's on a Funko Pop from 2 years ago over at MegaCon. So now I'm going to have to hope to meet him again and get his signature on here for Rick O'Connell.
And that gold's really popping with the light.
Yeah, it is.
Came out really good.
So that was just amazing. I called my mom after the show and I was like, you're never going to guess who I met. It was really neat.
I'll tell you, for those that don't know about Fanboy Expo, I highly recommend checking it out. You know, we went on a Sunday, so of course it's like a slower day and stuff like that, but it's a fun, smaller con. Like if you're somebody that isn't ready for MegaCon and stuff and the craziness of like that, or NYCC like Josh is going to, and
bro, I saw a video
like
in NYCC just to kind of get an idea.
Mm-hmm.
It makes MegaCon look tiny.
I mean, it is
MegaCon's big. MegaCon's really big, but NYCC makes it feel tiny. I'm like, oh my god, I'm being overstimulated.
Kind of like it's always kind of been neck and neck with like San Diego. Like they used to get sometimes like the new trailers and the sneak peeks and stuff like that at NYCC the same way they do at San Diego. I keep waiting for them to kind of bring that over to MegaCon too, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think we'll get there.
Yeah,
we're getting bigger people.
We're definitely getting there size wise.
Size wise is crazy. That
we got to be in the top 5. We got to be in the top 5 biggest at this point. Like
it's got to be like
easily 5.
San Diego, NYCC. I would say Dragon Con in Atlanta, and then Chicago's a big one too.
Probably like C2E2 or something like that.
Yeah, C2E2, and then I feel like MegaCon has got to be right there at number 5. And Dragon Con is that one. Dragon Con is its own beast with the way that one's set up with
I think
all
it
the
takes up a
different
whole like area
block
of
of
Atlanta.
Superhero Con's
hotels.
pretty big too.
Super, yeah. I mean, there's big ones out there. And a lot of big ones, but it's just when you're talking like square footage of everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's a lot of them that would have a hard time competing with like MegaCon's size, but this one is a much smaller thing. It's like a one small section of like the convention center, or like a small convention space they would fit in. But it's a very fun one. They travel around. They do a couple, I think, like maybe 4 or 5 shows a year, type of thing, kind of like Collect a Con does. So I would highly recommend checking them out. They always get really cool talent, like different talent than what you see in some of these other ones. It's always like nothing but anime people, and which is fine, but it's like sometimes you're just tired of seeing the same anime actors time and time again for these conventions. So that sometimes they'll get old school movie, TV actors. Hence why like Ashlyn was able to get the Buffy Angel stuff or the Mummy stuff done, or original Mewtwo,
and they do
all
a
this
really
kind of
good
stuff.
job of trying to get the ensemble cast for things that
they'll try and like hone in on stuff if they can, because that's how I got the whole voice cast of original Ninja Turtles from the animated series years ago.
Yeah, they always do a really good job with that, so it's really fun. It's low stakes. You're not having to deal with crazy crowds. Like I know Brandon was there all weekend, so he had to deal with Saturday and the lines were a little long. And I mean, that's just what you have going on Saturday with pretty much.
But even then, he said it wasn't that bad.
Oh yeah, for sure not. So definitely, if you're looking to break into the con scene, if it's something that you've been interested in, curious in, they're less expensive. The smaller atmosphere and location gives you a more intimate setting with these actors and personalities to be able to meet and have it not be so stressful, especially if you are neurodivergent or don't do good in crowds and things like that. So definitely, like Andrew said, check it out. It really is a fun time to do some of these smaller cons and get that more FaceTime, those more intimate experiences where you're getting more of an experience with the artists because they're actually able to be more genuine and not work a conveyor belt of humans.
Another example of that this coming weekend is actually Ocala Comic Con. We'll be hitting up. Josh, are you going?
Oh no, I can't.
No, okay. I wasn't sure with the X-Men stuff, but yeah, they've got a good chunk of the X-Men voice cast is going to be there. They've got some Star Wars people, and I'm sure they got anime people and stuff like that, like I mentioned. But that's like another like smaller size one. We'll actually be hitting it up this coming Sunday. So if you see us, come say hi. Don't be weird. It's fine. I'm sure no one's gonna recognize me. It's fine. But it's going to be fun. We just have a couple of small things we need to get done. So we'll be walking around the floor. Ocala was fun last year. I think that was our first time ever going. So we had a good time. Looking forward to it again. And we'll also be hitting up Spookala beginning of October, and then Spooky Empire here in Orlando. So still a few cons to go for the rest of the year. So like I said, if you see us, come say hi. Or if you're interested in those types of things, check out all of them. Like I said, Ocala Comic Con, Spookala, which is in Tampa, and then Spooky Empire here in Orlando. A lot of really cool talent coming very, very soon to Central Florida. So, but I think with all that said, we're going to wrap things up here real quick before we go. Josh, where can the people find you?
Find me at McCoy Culture and on my socials.
And in his bed because he's sick now.
Yes. I'm going to make Shayna make you some tea or something.
Ashlyn, how about you?
You guys can find me on TikTok, Instagram at BookBrat90. We've been under some heavy house renovations lately that I think Andrew's going to kill me if they don't wrap up soon. So I'm going to be posting all of the renos that we've had done, that we've been doing. And then, of course, it is my time of year. So we are getting ready for Halloween, spooky season.
Are you into spooky stuff? I had no idea.
No idea.
Yeah.
So I've got like 8 bags from Michael's. I'm going to be doing a whole additional setup to what I did last year. You can see what I did last year on TikTok. I believe that's my first video I ever did. So it is at the bottom of the page there. See how it's going to differ this year from last year. So stay tuned for that. As Andrew mentioned, we did get some video and stuff from Halloween Horror Nights. So I'm going to post that here, probably be up tomorrow for you guys to see a little quick snippet of our Halloween Horror Nights adventure as the group with the whole retroactive POD cast here. So lots of stuff coming your guys' way. So definitely stay tuned.
And for me, you can find me at Andrewislosing on pretty much all social media. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel at Retroactive POD on Instagram and TikTok, all that good stuff. I want to thank you guys for joining us today, and we will see you next time.